All right. Thank you, David, for that introduction. I'm glad he did the introduction because last time I forgot to do a whole bunch of stuff the first time I did it. And he obviously recognizes a lot of your faces. It's really cool to see how many people this coaching call has grown into. Well, today I am excited to talk to you guys about door knocking. And as simple as door knocking is that, and as old school as door knocking is, it is one of the most effective forms of building relationships and actually obtaining leads. And if you guys are not doing that at the moment, that is something you need to start considering. Now, before I start going through this, I would like for each one of you to actually open up the chat because I do like to get involved with all of you, and that way you can see what everybody else is writing and also participate. So, you know, that gives us a little bit more communication between each other, and it's not just me chatting it up. So first of all, let's talk about why we got to do, what's the purpose of us going to door knock? And the main purpose to door knock is obviously to obtain data. Okay, you want to obtain data. With data, you're more powerful. With data, you can do more. Okay, and in order to obtain data, you also have to provide information and content that is relevant to the people that you're trying to obtain data from. So, you know, for door knocking, ideally, most people have to look at the neighborhoods that they're closest to. Why? Because it's easier to get to. It's easy, you know, it's a place that you are going to be frequenting. You know, you're going to be going to the shops nearby. You may be walking around the neighborhood and meet the people that you're going to door knock. Okay, so ideally you want to go within that neighborhood, but there's other ways. You can also go on the MLS and determine which neighborhoods are selling more and that you want to target. So once you do that and determine the neighborhood that you're going to target and the number of homes that you're going to target, now what are you going to offer? So essentially, a lot of these homeowners, you know, if you guys can put on the chat, what are they looking for? What do they need to know? What makes these homeowners decide that they need to, you know, speak to you or that they want some information from you? What kind of information? Market data. Okay, home values. Home value is really the main one. Okay, thank you, Enrico. Sold nearby. What are their homes going to be selling for? Yep, just sold. And how do those homes compare to their own homes? So that's so important. You know, the sales in the past 4 months. So essentially, what they really want to know is what is their value? Why is their value important? Because that's how they're going to determine how much equity they're going to walk away with. So, you know, and the just listed, what's available in the area. You know, a lot of these people that are in these properties might be renting and they love that neighborhood and they want to know what's going on in that area. Okay, so, you know, here, let me see. T. Harker, good morning from Texas. First time on. Appreciate the invitation. All right, good morning. So
hey, can I jump in real quick? So
yeah.
So I do want to say something because Jen really just talked about like going to the MLS and deciding which neighborhood you want to market. And I actually had a really great conversation with one of my agents this morning, and we were talking about that. And think about that for a moment, right? It's not always your neighborhood that you're going to want to door knock because your neighborhood just might not be moving. So you're just going to sweat a lot and knock on a lot of doors, and you're not going to have any movement. You're going to meet a lot of people who are intending to be in their house for a very long time. So what you want to do is you want to go to the MLS and you want to search your neighborhood out for half a mile out. And if you see movement, you're looking at the active listings and you're looking at the closed listings and you're looking at the pending listings. And if you see good movement, good numbers there, then it makes sense to door knock that neighborhood. Because remember, door knocking is very, very time consuming and it really consumes a lot of energy. So you want to put that energy in the right place. If you go in there and you see 10 homes on the market out of, 1,000 and 3 have moved in the last 30 days, that might not be the best neighborhood to knock up, right? And so
depends
maybe you just move one. Yeah, it depends, but you want to move one neighborhood over. You want to check out. So now the next neighborhood says, 30 homes are on the market and 20 homes closed last month in the last 30 days. Well, yeah, okay. In that neighborhood, I might be able to hit that up and make good contacts there that will actually show movement and turn of property, right?
100.
Okay, so I'll leave it back to you. Apologize.
No, you're fine. And thank you for that. So yeah, so definitely determining the neighborhood and whether or not it's going to be worth it. Okay. In a lot of places, it's super hot outside or it's super cold. So determining whether it's worth it, it's a big deal. The other thing is understanding that although this is a very difficult task or maybe a very daunting task for a lot of people, you still have to show up professionally. You still have to show up excited. Nobody wants to speak to somebody that's not excited. Nobody wants to speak to the one person that walks away right away when at the first no. So with the content provides you with confidence that you understand and know your neighborhood. Okay, so obviously being knowledgeable, doing this research will provide you with the knowledge for you to have the confidence to then have these conversations with these people. How fast are the properties closing in that neighborhood? Okay, how long are they lasting on the market? These are very important. Are there, so knowing information will give you the tool to be able to speak to these people and give them what they need. Like if they ask you any more questions, you'll have that handy. Now, obviously you want to look professional, right? So you can either have it in your head or, ideally you want to give them something that they can keep. Okay, if you get your foot in that door, if you get to speak to somebody, you want to give them something that they can keep and has information that's important to them. So what do you provide them with? A flyer. A flyer. It's so simple. We're going like back in the days. Right now, there's a lot of property, a lot of sellers that want to sell but are afraid to sell. So you gotta entice them. You gotta give them something to think about. You give them the flyer with the content that you provided, basic information. I use Canva. For a lot of the stuff that I create, I use Canva. And Canva is so simple to use, and you can order print from there very easily. And it's also inexpensive. You have to invest in yourself. So gather the data that's important, the homes that just sold in the neighborhood, okay? Gather the average price point depending on how many number of bedrooms the property has, okay? Or maybe the size of the house, square footage, okay, if you want to go in that direction. And give that, put your link, put your social media information, put all your details on there because you want them to have something that they can keep that is yours and that is valuable. Now, in moments of conversation, you also, and we're going to tap into this a little later, but in those flyers, you also want to have a way for them to join something that you're part of and that you've created. Okay. And usually this would be like a Facebook group. Again, we'll talk about that later on. But if you have that on there, now they not only have content, they have a visual, they have your face, they have your information, and they also have a way to communicate with you and a way to keep track of everything that you're putting up there for that community. Okay. So keep those things in mind when you're creating those flyers. All right. Now, as simple as door knocking is, what you really want to do is gather their contact info. And how do you gather their contact info? Can somebody tell me on the chat how, what information are you looking for, and really, what do you have to do to get their information? Just ask for it. It's funny because, I'll ask these questions and a lot of people on the simplest things, they freeze, they get scared. They don't, they want a door knock and they just, the person says, no, I don't want to talk right now. And they're afraid to ask for the information. You just have to ask for the damn information. It's the only way you're going to be able to get the data to communicate with that person and provide them with the valuable information that they need in the future. Because you're not doing this just to benefit yourself. You're doing this to also benefit them. If you come with that attitude that you're there to service them, you're there to contribute to their life and to their future, then they will feel that. They'll know and they'll be willing to give you the information. And if they don't want to at the moment, then in your clipboard where you should be taking notes of what properties you're visiting and which ones are not communicating with you at the moment or did not open the door or said no at the moment, then you go back to that same door another time frame and leave the information there. Consistency is the key for everything. In order for somebody to remember your face, you have to be consistently in front of them. And as simple as door knocking is, and again, as daunting, that is one of the only ways you're going to be in their face unless you're creating events. And let's face it, a lot of you are afraid of creating events because they cost money. Okay, so on another note, on the same note, I'm sorry, the information you're gathering that you need to gather, and a lot of people here are inputting, and I love this. I love that you guys are completely involved and providing information. It shows who's in tune, who knows, and sometimes this also reminds us, because as much as we know information, sometimes we don't do it, and it helps us just really re-engage with ourselves. Okay, so make sure you gather the email and the phone number. Sometimes even gather their social media. And that way they can see everything you're doing. Because guess what? All of us should be on social media. And most of us are posting something on social media, whether it's on a story or something like that. So it's just engaging with them. Okay. I have here something from Sunny. Sunny says, some of your neighbors have asked me to keep them informed. I'd love to include you. Great. What's your email? That's a great way, because what's the biggest thing there is she used a neighbor, somebody that they know, and she is reflecting. I'm sorry, Sunny, if you're a male, I'm so sorry. And she's reflecting, the person's reflecting that there's somebody in the neighborhood that accepted already this invitation. And therefore you should accept it too, because nobody wants to be missed out. So that's like a simple, very simple. And if you guys can take a screenshot of that, save that somewhere, and use that when you go out there and door knocking, it's so simple. Somebody says, great tips, went door knocking for the first time and missed a few steps. You know what? You went door knocking. That's half the battle. Now you go back and you bring in content, you bring in the information, you help these people. So now let's talk about, what are we going to do with this data? You went door knocking, you went to a couple doors, you got information from these people. What are you going to do with this data? So a lot of you guys have heard of CRMs. I hope all of you guys have heard of CRMs, because the CRM is the only way you're going to effectively keep track of your clients. Now, a CRM that we like to use often is Chime, because Chime is able to create reports for sellers, notify them. You can put that for them to be notified quarterly. And also, if you have a buyer, they can go in there, you can see what the person is looking at. Okay, so it's pretty active, and you can connect your emails and you can see the communication through there, etc. Okay, so with a CRM, you're going to input all the information and you're going to prepare a quarterly report for these people. So when you meet these people door knocking, not only are you providing a flyer, but you're also going to ask them if it's okay for you to reach out to them and to send them quarterly reports on their property, so that they can be aware of the actual or closest to actual value of their home. Why? Because Zillow is not accurate. They look at Zillow. Zillow sends a report all the time, and Zillow is not a person. Especially, Zillow is not a person that lives in their neighborhood. So let's trump Zillow. And let's move on to doing the quarterly reports with somebody that is around their neighborhood, that they can always reach. You could probably be walking around and meet with them, and also really hone in the actual value of their property, right? So we're gonna put them on the CRM. Aside from putting them on the CRM and creating these market reports, you want to gather their data also to invite them. So I spoke about events. One big event, and we know of people that are extremely successful with this, is to do a market quarterly report in that area, in a local shop. And if you're already door knocking, then that's something that if you're doing it consistently, which you should, go at least twice a month in your neighborhood to be in their face. And whether it is to offer something like, hey, something's going on, you'll do a month of a report, and then one visit for a report. And then the other visit could just be like, hey, listen, we have this event, would love to have you there. Or this is going on in your neighborhood. or these are the restaurants that just opened up. Whatever the case may be, you can find it if you really have the purpose of getting focused on this. And the best way to be successful is to focus on a niche, to focus on an area, whatever it is. Okay. So create the event in that specific area where they can visit you at a shop, giving everyone information on their current market. And in doing so, what you're going to do is, one, you're going to be the professional of the area. People are going to love you for doing this. You're going to get partners, whether it's a lender or a title company, and you're going to have them help you with catering this event or holding this event. Okay. And so now you're not showing up just by yourself, but you're also going to have people there that can answer questions specific to title, if there's any title issues or inheritance or whatever the case may be that they might have questions about specific to title. And you're going to have also a lender there, or just have one or the other. And with the lender there, if it's, obviously the whole idea is to answer the questions on how they can obtain financing for that home if necessary, or they can refinance, cash out, purchase something else. You never know what can turn out of that. But you want to have those partners there, because you want to be able to come in as a group, as a team, professional. Okay. And so when you do this event, you also want to have giveaways. It could be a simple, again, another little flyer with information on what you're doing. And also you want to put on there your partners. A lot of people forget to really, you're getting these partners to come out there and pay for this event. You want the people to walk away with the partner's information. Okay. Why? It makes your partner happy. Then you create more events from there on. And you want to do this quarterly. Okay. Because what do appraisers look at? They look at the last 3 months first to consider value of the property. Okay. Obviously that doesn't automatically become a quarter thing, but it makes it easier for you to do the quarter thing. Okay. And give them that type of value within that time frame. All right. Now, one thing that is very important is that when you're having these conversations with these people, you want to be persistent, but you don't want to be pushy. Okay. You want to be there. You want to let them know that it's important for them to know their value, that you are there to give them all the information. You want to come with gratitude and also servitude. You want to be able to serve these people where they can feel comfortable, and you can start building those relationships. What happens is that in the long run, as you have more conversations, as you start meeting these people at their door multiple times, or if you call them and you just ask them, hey, we need to update your information, or I'm just calling all of my people in the neighborhood to see if you guys have any questions, or to gather any updated emails. Are you getting all the emails that I'm sending out pertaining to your neighborhood? Whatever it is specific to updating, and just having a simple conversation. You never know. Just listen to what they have to say, because if they say, for example, that their kid is sick and it's not feeling well, now you know who that person is, what property they live in, and you can send the child either a Lipton soup, a little box with a little teddy bear or something, and text the person and say, hey, listen, I sent something for your son. I hope he feels better. How do you think that relationship is going to change when you actually listen? Because we like to talk, but we don't listen. And these small details are the ones that we need to pay attention to the most. Find out, in conversations, find out about anniversary. I will tell you, my biggest successes have been asking questions. People love to talk. They love to talk about themselves. They love to tell you all the problems and everything that's going on. And what is that for me? That's ammo. I got you. You can open up to me. Then you feel comfortable. But the only way to open up is you ask them questions. You're kind. You're helping them. You guide them through. You understand. Even if you don't agree, you understand where they're going, what they're going through. or you understand that they believe their value is whatever they think their value is. Okay. So always, always understand, listen, and guide. Okay. I wanted to talk about the Facebook groups. It's if you're focusing on a neighborhood, Facebook groups are so essential because let's say, for example, Richmond, Virginia. Well, that's kind of open. I'm going to stick to Miami because I know Miami. I'm going to go Coconut Grove. Coconut Grove in Miami, small little neighborhood. Okay, I can create a group there that is just for Coconut Grove and walk around the neighborhood as I'm door knocking and telling them, hey, listen, I have a Facebook group where a lot of the people from this community come into. And I'm going to start putting a lot more quarterly reports in that area. I'll start putting information on stuff that's happening in the neighborhood. And if you become active in your neighborhood and really, really use that Facebook group, people will start joining that group. Now, the next time you have an event or you have that next quarterly report, you can post it on there and it'll notify them. Obviously, you don't want to stop at that. You want to after gathering the data, you still want to invite them. You want to send them an email, send them a text message, whatever the case may be. But the group is a good way for you to have immediate communication. And again, become the professional for the area. Okay. It could be something you want to go even more niche. You can do moms in Coconut Grove. Okay, moms have nothing to do most of the time because they're hanging out with the kids and stuff like that. They're looking at properties, they're trying to fix the home. They love the homes. Mom love being at home. They love fixing the home. That's what we do. We nourish and we create homes. So we're always looking at Zillow. I do it. I look at Zillow. Okay. And the reason why I say moms is because that's how I've been very successful. And I go to all the volleyball things. I go to cheerleading. I go to whatever the case, wherever my kids are involved in my community. I am one of the moms and I'm the professional in the neighborhood and I talk about everything. So you have to, everything related to real estate and become the professional. For men, men that like cigars, or women that like cigars. I like cigars. So, sometimes when you do like a niche thing, also, you just create a certain group of people too that like exactly what you like, so maybe that's something that you might want to consider when it comes to groups. But staying the topic of door knocking, this group is specific to the neighborhood. Okay. So, any of you guys doing door knocking right now? I want to see little hands or yes, I'm doing door knocking at the moment. I've seen some people on the chat because that way I can get your names. It's very hard. Like I can't see everybody on the screen. All right, Stephen, you want to share some of your tips on your door knocking and what's been effective for you? Stephen Shoemaker.
Yeah, I mean, I start in my parents' neighborhood. And one of the best ways for me to kind of get familiar with the people in the neighborhood is one, I've already met them generally because my parents have had parties or block parties. But then I also, let them know that my parents live in the neighborhood, which makes them feel immediately more comfortable with me. I kind of grew up in the neighborhood a little bit, so I know a little bit about the surrounding area. I've lived in the area for several years, which gives me, a little bit of an icebreaker. And then, then I go into, here's a little bit of information about what's going on in your neighborhood. I know you've lived here a little bit, but here's a little bit more information about what's going on in the real estate market in particular. And then, you just kind of have a quick conversation about who they are and why they live there.
Do you ever gather data, information from them?
Yes, as much as I can. I mean, I start with email and phone number. And if they give me an email or phone number, I always ask them what is the best way for me to contact them, because some people don't use email. Some people prefer text messages. And then I just ask for, if they have any other alternate preferred methods of contact, whether it be Facebook or whatever on that end.
Perfect. I think the biggest thing, Stephen, you're already, I don't know how often you're doing the the door knocking around your neighborhood and stuff like that. But what we really want to hone into is the continuing to build those relationships. You've obviously started something. You started door knocking, or doing it consistently, and you have some sort of relationship with the people around your neighborhood. So, keeping those relationships, and how do you strengthen those relationships? And I think really focusing on what it is that they're telling you, and I'm sure you can agree, and what you're going to do that goes the extra mile to ensure that these people understand that you're there for them, that you want to help them move, and you have the resources and you have the tools to do that. I see Team Chancey. Thank you for that, Stephen. I see Team Chancey from LPT on here, and it's Chancey. You have a team. Is that what it is? You have a team of people. Are they all going door knocking together? Team Chancey. Who has a team
so
here? Oh, there you are.
We do have a team, and what we do is we break up the subdivisions by who lives in what subdivision. And so we start farming their area and then knocking on doors. If we have an open house, if we have an event, a community event, or if we just have something going on in that area that we think they would be interested in, we take business cards, and we also have digital cards. So we ask them instead of asking, would you like a business card or a contact information, we ask them which one they want. So if and we're like, business cards are easy to lose. So we try to kind of ask them just to scan the QR code that has our digital card. And then it automatically captures their information, even if they don't ever, put our phone number in their phone. If we gave them their business card, they'd actually have to take the time to put our realtor, our phone number, and everything in there. It gives them the option to just save our information. So we're already in their phone. So then when we text them a couple days later to tell them, thanks for speaking with us, it was so nice to meet you. Or if it had been a second time we had seen them, we just graciously thank them for having a conversation with us. And then it's another touch a few days later, and we're already in their phone. So it's not like, who's this sending us a text?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. One thing with the digital is just ensuring that they actually do save your phone number and that you don't get lost in the contacts. That's one thing I've had, like a little bit of a thing. I'll get somebody's digital card and it'll get lost. So what I do also to add is just that one text message. So you're definitely obviously doing the right thing. I'd say, a lot of people, some of you guys here might be on teams, don't go at this alone. Be excited. Don't go at this alone. You've joined a team for a reason. Do this either together and tackle a large neighborhood, or separate and really hold each other accountable. But definitely look into the opportunities of what it is to be face to face and door knocking. I have somebody, Lisa Rosario, and thank you for that. Chance. Oh, whoops. I'm sorry. I think I muted you. You can unmute yourself and sorry.
One more thing, if you do have a team, it's nice that you have part of your team on one side of the home and part of your team on the other. Because when you're giving them that flyer, and that's if that's their neighborhood, on the left-hand side, that's a picture of them, a headshot. And it says, not only am I your neighbor, I'm also your local realtor and expert. And you don't just you get the whole team. And then a team picture on the other side. You can point to the other side and say, here's some of our team here, introduce who's maybe with you there when you're having that interaction. But then let them look across the street and see 2 or 3 people on the other side as well, and point out the fact that, yes, I'm your neighbor and I can help, but we come with a whole entire team with decades of experience. So then that reassures them, wow, that it's impressive when you have, most realtors aren't knocking on a door. And if you have 7 or 8 people in your team that's splitting up and dividing and conquering in the neighborhood, it's impressive. It shows your level of commitment to that neighborhood and that community.
It really is. Now, to add to that, having your team members in other areas, you got to think about, a lot of these people are not necessarily moving out of their homes to stay in that same neighborhood. They're trying to go somewhere else. And you may actually
Right.
have a team member that is in that neighborhood. So, it's more power when you come together and you're able to to provide them with those resources. Thank you for that.
Hi, I
Um,
have, it's Lisa. I'm sorry. I
oh,
just had
there you
a
are.
comment. How are you? Thank you for
Hi,
having
how are
this.
you?
So
Of
my
course.
name is Lisa. I'm a current local mortgage representative with PNC Bank, and I'm pre-approving a lot of my clients. And I just wanted to share, or maybe you can insight this. My customers are just coming back saying that their current realtor is saying, the market is bad or there's not a lot of inventory. It's like, wow, I took the time to sit with this client, pre-approve them. I'm like, now I feel like I got to go sell a house. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going through that right now. And I'm like, okay, maybe we need to change realtors, which that's not my style. I'm very
Yeah,
loyal,
no,
but at the
first
time
you
it's
want to
like,
be
why are you coming back with statistics? Like, I know there's things going on, but it's like, okay, like, and me coming from sales, I've never told people there's no more pencils. There's no more pizza.
Yeah.
There's no more
There's always
cars. I present what I have and I'm like, here it is. And the customer can see for themselves and let them make that decision. Any
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, I'm glad you point that out because I feel like, in that world or in the world of lack of inventory, you have to create the inventory. And how do you create the inventory is by getting out there and actually searching for it, and now realtors really got to put in a little bit more work, but it's work that is beneficial because, if you have a buyer that doesn't have a property and a certain neighborhood has a certain value, and and that's the neighborhood that they want to be in, and it fits within their parameters, then maybe you should be door knocking that neighborhood and letting those sellers know that you have a buyer. I've done that before. I've done that before on a $5 million property. So, when it comes to lending, okay, we got hit some, we had a little bit of a lack of inventory situation. There's more inventory coming up. Their properties are reducing their value a little bit and there's not as much competition. Okay, so the market's shifting to what it's supposed to be, but it's still high. So what are we really complaining about? I think the most, and not we, Lisa, as in us specifically, but the buyers, I think a lot of realtors need to communicate with their buyers and really let them know, something will show up at some point. And if it doesn't, what neighborhood do you want to be in? And let me see what I can do. Where do we find where we need to get into a mindset of solutions?
That sounds good. I
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, like I just
don't say
feel,
stop.
yeah, I don't like how they come back with these reactions. And I'm like, we're here to help you and I'll go out there with you. I'll meet you at an open house. But they come back with things that their realtors is telling them. And it's kind of, I just feel like it's kind of discouraging. So I feel like I'm always trying to turn the table around, like, okay, there is stuff out there, and I'll help you look. And it's just,
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's on the MLS is on the MLS, and if there's competitions, there's competition. But and so obviously the buyer needs to be guided as whatever way it's supposed to be specific to the property that they're dealing with. If there's a lot of offers, then we got to sweeten the pot. But essentially, if there are no properties currently on the market listed, then search for them. Because I will tell you, here's what the seller is going to find. When you go to that seller that wasn't listed, but might have been thinking, especially if you've been door knocking and who's been asking questions, and that seller might have been thinking about selling. Now you have, okay, hey, Mr. Seller, I have a buyer that's in your price point, and you can sell right now. Maybe we can negotiate something. We'll give you a little bit more time because of the circumstances that we're in, where you weren't ready to do it at the moment, but you're helping the seller, but helping the buyer all at the same time. Not to mention that there is no competition. Nobody knows about this listing.
how can can you hear me? How can I overcome the objection? Like, well, at least I made so many offers and I keep getting outbidded. I'm tired. And there's nothing in my price range. I mean, how can I overcome? And I hear that a lot. Like, I'm still looking, things are expensive. I just,
I would have a conversation with the realtor and just ask, hey, what's going on with this buyer? And then the realtor will let
Okay.
you know, listen, this house was really coveted. There were probably a lot of offers and they cannot come in any higher than this amount, and maybe you start looking as a lender, obviously you can play with some numbers a little bit, and say, okay, what can we do with the buyer? Like, hey, maybe you can come up with a certain amount above appraised value. Obviously, we don't always want to suggest that, but in certain circumstances, it might just be the only option, and or you can say, we'll go up to this price point and not and assuming that that the realtor knows what the value is of the property and it's pretty safe, and we'll say, oh, we'll go above appraised value a certain amount, or if it's within the right price point. I don't always suggest this, but again, it depends how aggressive you are. Sometimes I've done it where I've removed an appraisal contingency because I know the value is going to be there, or you'll have scenarios where maybe the seller needs a little bit more time, so if you as a realtor went into this listing, spoke to these people, spoke to the listing agent, and you say, hey, listen, how soon is the seller trying to move? Then maybe you find out with the listing agent, the seller needs 2 months to move or something, you know what I mean? Then you can, and then communicate with the buyer, like, hey, listen, is it feasible for you to be able to keep that seller there for 1 month or 2 months without an expense? This is like, because essentially the mortgage payment is not due till like another month, sometimes 2 months, depending on when they close,
Right, right.
so really there are so many different variables that you can work on, or buyer, can somebody give you a gift so you can come in with a stronger offer?
Yeah, I've had people, I sit down with them and I give them options. I said, this is what you're eligible for. This is your max. If you see something more expensive, which happens all the time, I'm like, these are your options. You have to be prepared. You may have to come up with more down payment. I educate them about grants, city grants, local grants, our grants, any help assistance. You may need a cold bar. They're already prepared. Like, okay, Lisa told me if I see something more, this is what I need. So most of the time they know that, and it's just
prepared,
and it works and it helps a lot. And they already know because we had that conversation. But it's just with the properties.
Yeah, it just sounds to me like the realtor really needs to get out there and see if they can find the property. I hate to say it. It's just, if, obviously tackle whatever's listed and see if they can do something there. But again, no competition if nobody knows that the property is that the seller's willing to sell and it's not listed. You know what I mean? And think about how much, I like to think, I like money, but I'm not going to like money to a point where it's detrimental to somebody else. So I think, in a case where a seller wasn't listed, hey, listen, it's 3%. It's going to cost them 3% less to go through this process. So now they have more money in their pocket. So it's all, you got to dangle what is it? You got to dangle the carrot and see what's out there, and really get your foot up, into people's homes that are not currently thinking about selling. A lot of the biggest concerns that we're getting right now is a lot of these sellers are afraid because they don't know where they're going to go. So the other thing is, well, with the equity that you have, you can move into a property that could be a little bit better, and you can keep a mortgage that's very similar to the one that you currently have. Because you're using equity to pay it down. That's not what they did. A lot of times it's not what they did originally. So they have a fixed monthly payment that could be better. Granted, the rate's a little higher, so it could be, tricky, but you don't get into that. You just offer that and then weigh it out, and it's the lender's job to figure out the numbers. But it's an option, and then now you not only do you have a buyer, a property for the new buyer, but as a realtor, you also have potentially another buyer. So really this door knocking, as simple as it is one of the best ways for you to be able to control your market, be the professional in the neighborhood, get more listings. If you get more listings, you have more control as a realtor. Okay, and also get more buyers, because then of course you got the open houses once you get the listing, etc. But that's another conversation. But for the door knocking to work, you have to be consistent. And I really suggest you door knock at least twice a month, because it's consistency. As tedious as it might sound and as bothersome as you might think you are by knocking on those people's doors, you're not. Eventually you're a friend, eventually you're a neighbor, eventually you're somebody that's providing them with information. And if they're not gonna buy from you, they were never gonna buy from you in the first place. So who cares? But it's an opportunity. You are not going to know unless you actually put that effort. And, you know, as high and mighty as a lot of us could be, because we're making a decent income, in order for us to be able to push our income to the next level, we have to do the things that made us uncomfortable in the first place, that got us to where we are now. So
How many houses you recommend door knocking?
I would say
Sorry.
if you no, it's okay.
Sorry.
You know, that's all relative, because it depends on the conversations you're having. Some conversations take a little longer than others, but if you can at least make it a goal to get out there and do at least 1 to 2 hours. Obviously, the more you do, the more chances you get, you know, but 1 to 2 hours out there on, you know, knocking on doors, and I would say more focus on the connections. Try to make at least 5 connections every time you're out there, at least, because that's, but if you do it twice a month, that's 10 connections a month. And as the months go by, you're going to continue to build up to that.
Also,
And-
one question. Thank you so much. One question. What is your rebuttal when you take a customer out and for some reason the first 3 properties you see, oh my God, the property needs so much work. It was disgusting. I couldn't walk around. I'm just saying, because I'm getting that when I follow up with my clients. Hey, how did it go? Well, the properties, you know, these are disgusting. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I find that unbelievable. I'm like, yeah. So,
okay, well, as a realtor,
what do you guys say? Do you guys?
Listen, it depends who you are. I would say once you close on this property, buyer, I'll have somebody come and clean your house. It's just cleaning. We all have to, you know, make an extra effort to offer somebody something.
Oh, it needs a lot of work. I don't want it. It needs a lot of work. It's old fashioned. Like, what is the best thing you guys say, or what would you say?
I'm very straightforward. So I say, you know, you can't afford the one that doesn't need any work. Okay, so right now we have to look at the opportunities that you have here. You go rent, you're 100% wasting your money. You gain absolutely no equity. So with this purchase, if it fits your needs, right, and you can live in the home, you have the number of bedrooms that you need, or maybe the location that you needed, and the property needs some work, but that's also relative. Why? Because you want to remodel? Well, that also takes time. Well, what can you do that's cost effective? So we also have to look at, again, solution minded, look at what, you know, I had a buyer where the property didn't need work. The kitchen was very outdated. And I said, listen, it's very inexpensive to get the cabinets painted. And the moment she did that, she didn't even change the cabinets. The whole kitchen looked brand new. And we're, you know, and if you live in Miami, you know, you can find anything inexpensive in Hialeah. And if you live anywhere else, I'm sure you can find the location to find something that's inexpensive, whether it is appliances or anything like that, you know. So it's really finding the solutions, like, hey, you know, how can we make this work for you? Because out of all the options that we see, these are the best ones, right? Because I'm sure as a realtor, you didn't go out there and just show properties just because they sent you a whole bunch of properties. We need to get the best ones because they're going so fast. These are the best ones. You can't go any higher in price point. So this is what we have. So let's look at the solutions here, you know, on how to make this work. And sometimes you just have to create the vision, you know, look outside the box and create the vision for them, you know. So that's, you know, a simple suggestion. Every person's different. So, some people are a little bit more difficult. I'd say don't waste your time with somebody that's not serious. If they're serious, then they're, even if the house needs a little bit of work, they'll understand that the value of the, of where they can afford and what's available, it's what it's going to get them. And they're going to see the opportunity of what they can do through time as they build equity, and they could potentially get a HELOC or something to do renovations in their home in the future, or save some money, or whatever the case may be, or paint the cabinets, or, do it themselves. There's so much you can do by yourself.
And
Kelly,
I always,
Yeah.
I always say to the people, what would it take for you to make an offer on this property? And let them talk. You can't isolate the objection if you don't know the objection. You don't know it, if it's the paint, if it's dirty. So you need to ask them, what would it take for you to make an offer on this property? Let them
Yeah.
talk.
Okay. That's
Sounds
good
like
one.
a lot of the realtors, Lisa, you're working with are kind of maybe inexperienced, just from what I'm listening to. They don't know how to isolate objections. They don't know. That's just me gathering just from what you're saying.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for sharing that. It's just, I feel I stuck to a point because I always find a solution. I'm always like, hey, how can we make this work? But it's just getting to a point like, wait a minute, like what's going on? Like, it's got to be crazy. I can't be hearing this too much. But I love what you guys said. Thank you. That helps a lot. Like, hey, look at in the future what it can be based on our eligibility. This is what we can do, and I don't know, something's going on, but thank you. It makes me want to go to the open house because I'm like, what are they looking at? What are they talking about? It makes me, so I'm starting to do that more, which is okay. I don't mind getting comfortable as a loan officer and getting out there. So I see what they're looking at, because sometimes I'm like, are they lying? What are they talking about? Like,
yeah, they're just emotional. And that's usually what happens. Somebody on the chat said that a lot of times they'll actually take somebody to the property that looks exactly like they want. And then they'll see what the price is on that, and that they can't afford it. And that helps them come back to earth. And, but you got to be careful, because it could discourage them. They might think, oh, they need to save more money so that they can get this one house, but that one house is going to be even more expensive in a few years from now, so, really, really communicate with the realtor. I think that Lisa, communicate with the realtor, see what's going on with the buyer, and always look at a positive situation. The market is the market. And when is the right time to buy? When you're able to buy. So, not looking at the approach of negativity, where, oh, there's nothing on the market. There are listings on the market. It's just, what are you going to do? Like Kelly said, what will help you purchase this house? What needs to happen in order for you to purchase this property? That's a different approach as well. So, we are 4 minutes. We have 4 minutes left. Anybody have any questions, anything else that you guys would like to talk about or address before we end this today? Anybody?
I
This
have a
is
quick question.
Oh.
Where do you find that the best market reports come from? Your Chime CMA or CRM, or the MLS, or I know you said you used Canva, but I was looking for one that's kind of like plug and play, where you plug in the neighborhood and it auto generates the report with like some pictures and maybe a couple graphs, but not too much detailed information. I want them to be able to look at the report and just see clearly what information they need to see about the neighborhood.
So Chime is good because it's connected to the CRM. So Chime will provide, you have to customize it. So if you talk to the customer and you find out all the details of their home, whatever, they show you the home, you know what to do, then you customize it for their area, and Chime will actually provide them with a report. Somebody else uses RPR or Realist. Okay, I've used RPR before, and RPR also picks up on properties that sold that were not on the MLS. So, but you also have to be careful with that, because, again, it's these are all automatic systems. Essentially what you're doing, that's why we push on the CRM, is you want to stay in communication with these people. If you do RPR, you're not going to know whether or not they get on there or they received it or they opened it or anything like that, you know? So with the CRM, even if it's not 100% accurate, at least you know that they're on there and you can communicate with them. And that's the goal, is to continue that communication, the building that relationship. I hope that answered your question.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Yes, thank
No,
you.
good. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Maggie asked in the chat, how do you deal with them not answering because they have the Ring doorbell or something similar?
That's a tricky one. Again, I think it's consistency, just showing up, because obviously with the Ring doorbell, they know that you're coming. I would have an entire conversation with them on Ring.
Would you leave any materials there at the house?
Oh yeah, because it's gonna get to them. It's at their door. That's why people send mailers. So yeah, I would leave information like, hey, you know, I know you're busy right now. I understand. I would really love to just connect with you and let you know that I'm here to help you out. I have information on your neighborhood, and all I really want to do is provide you with content, answer any questions you might have, and let you know what's going on in the neighborhood, and really get to know you, because I live around here too. And some of your neighbors are also on my, you know what I mean? You have to give them something that makes them feel warm and fuzzy, that it's okay to communicate with you, you know, not come up so salesy and you know, okay, you can't come to the door. That's fine. I'm going to leave this information here so you can have it. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. It's
I
not.
say the Ring, Jen, is awesome too for that, having that conversation. But if you find a property that you're taking your buyers to and you know there's going to be multiple offers, I love multiple offers. I'm a crazy agent. I'll hit the Ring and I'll say, oh my gosh, my clients loved your property. I'll give feedback to your agent. They know now your face. You just stuck out for them. The Ring is an amazing tool. Use it to your advantage with stuff like that.
It records, it saves, they have it. Your face is on there. They have the information. They can replay it. Use it to your advantage. There's not one thing that happens in this market or with anybody that you cannot use to your advantage. I hope that helps. All right. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. I really, really enjoyed this today and appreciate you guys for tuning in and staying here throughout the way with me in this journey. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great one.